All right, everyone, we should be live. I'll make sure that that's actually the case. Cross-platform, of course. Over on Rumble, we'll attempt to make sure that we're actually loaded. I don't see anyone in the Rumble rants section yet. So hopefully that's not a bad sign, because sometimes that glitches out regardless. Make sure that we're live on the actual video feed, though. Clanking ree. Little kids outside. Oh, my God. Oh, come on. Well, I don't know if we're live on Rumble. I believe that we are, though. So anyway, we're going to get right into it. I'm going to keep this a little bit truncated today, try to keep it under an hour. We do have quite a bit to cover. A couple of these actually involve the same story, specifically regarding Kari Lake. As you see, in Arizona, the voting is stalled at 82% counted, with Kari Lake ahead by a couple of points over Pence-endorsed Robson. A massive deviation already from polling, with almost all of the same day ballots that are coming in favoring Kari Lake by a huge margin. Why do I get the sense that there might be a little bit of honking going on here? I don't know that that will actually end up being the case in the end, but I did notice that there were an awful lot of critical articles in the wake of the beginning of voting with regards to Kari Lake. Kari Lake and the danger of local news anchors jumping into politics. Yes, this is an actual title. Also, the camera's a little bit off center here. Okay, that's a little bit better. Kari Lake and the danger of local news anchors jumping into politics. Yes, there is another form of employ where you're not allowed to run for office, I suppose, if you have views that are counter to the narrative. And the whole idea of this is that Kari Lake was a news anchor, became disillusioned with the legacy media and with its lies, and so said, you know what, fuck this shit. I'm going to run for office. I'm going to try to become the governor of Arizona and maybe contribute to putting the kibosh to all of the state propaganda apparatuses like CNN. And so they naturally, here at the Columbia Journalism Review and other places as well, this is by John Alsop, talking about how terrible it is. Her leave from Fox 10 was personal, not disciplinary, she claimed. On her way out, she warned viewers to disregard any hit pieces about her that might be about to come out. Not everyone is dedicated to telling the truth. But thankfully, many of you have figured that out, she said. I promise you, if you hear it from my lips, it will be truthful. Of course, if she's going to become a politician, that's not necessarily going to be the case. Just to be clear, just because you don't have Kari Lake derangement syndrome doesn't mean that you need to applaud her as being some sort of pariah of virtue. Arizona Republicans should reject Kari Lake. This is from before the voting began. This is from the editors at the National Review. Once respected, years and years ago anyway, disrespected mostly now. The right in Arizona has always been prone to a rough-hewn populism. Think Jan Brewer, or even more so, Sheriff Joe. Donald Trump and the likes of Kari Lake have taken this tendency and wedded it to election trutherism in a particularly toxic and powerful brew. Yes, more conservatives that don't want a conservative to actually take office. The whole point of the neocons is that you put up a big game and you pretend to be conservative. If you're not elected, you bow solemnly and say, well, I really love my liberal opponent. If you don't win, if you do win, then you immediately abandon conservative principles and you are the liberal opponent. We see this right now with a slurry of people like John Cornyn, several of which lost their jobs the other day, I will point out. Good riddance to them. The last psychic vampire elder. Free yourself from the wheel of creation. Join us in the nothing. Good day, Mr. Tarl. Joining the void sounds pretty good. HM, Arizona needs to get it together. My goodness. Yes, the other day they were stalled at like 60% counted for an extended period of time. Today, they can't even get the results in next day. You know, the day is half over. You can't even get the final results in. I mean, Jesus. Yes, and by the way, we will be talking about Ron DeSantis' big announcement, because it's not as big as some people had thought it was. Some people thought he was going to announce a presidential run, and I should have earlier weighed in on this and would have liked to have done so this morning, but the news hadn't come in. It would have been insane for him to attempt to jump the gun and announce a presidential bid. It would have been a real big problem for DeSantis had he done so. It turns out that he's actually letting the Tampa AG go that wouldn't prosecute for violating the abortion ban there. Naturally, there is a huge amount of outcry about this from people that are pro-choice. I would say, well, you all wanted it to be a state issue. That means in some states, abortion will be more curtailed. In other states like Kansas, and we'll get to that as well, abortion will be less curtailed. So it's devolved to the states. It's what most of the population wanted. I fail to see the problem. Emperor Soft Turtle. Wild late stream. Razor explains it so close, not just fraud, but Lake was focused on attacking Katie, not Karen. So Kanites pushed hard. Well, Kari Lake in the end, I do believe is likely to be declared the victor. I think that they attempted to preemptively prevent that through honking before voting day. And I think that they carefully calculated and said, okay, what's the likely turnout? What's the likely voting differential? We'll estimate. We'll do a guesstimate, get 5% over the guesstimate or something, and she likely loses. They didn't give it quite as much same-day pressure as they would a presidential race, because while they're concerned about Kari Lake certainly being the governor of Arizona, they're not as worried. They also know that they can honk in the general election, and so it doesn't matter quite so much. So they did the velvet glove, the iron fist and velvet glove sort of thing. HM, if it takes Arizona this long to show election results for primaries, just think how long it will take for the midterms. A week? A month? Yeah, the world may never know, literally. John Smith sent €4. No comment, thank you. Next, we have to talk about Meghan McCain. This is a funny one. I see my initial predictions were right despite the initial excitement of Robson pulling ahead. Yes, she was pulling for Robson, of course, endorsed by Pence. This is tangentially related to Kari Lake, but Meghan McCain really takes the cake, and it's much more funny. Congratulations to my home state for making the transition to full-blown MAGA, conspiracy theory, and fraudster. The voters have spoken. Be careful what you wish for. By the way, technically, preemptively jumping the gun and declaring that Kari Lake has actually won the gubernatorial slot. She's a couple points ahead, but you've only got 82% counted. And of course, there may be some last-minute honking going on. I'm sure Meghan McCain would be happy about that. She then went on to ridicule Lake's last name and saying it was synonymous with extremism and fanaticism and so forth. My thoughts are your last name is McCain. He's best known for quipping bomb Iran at one point and threatening World War III. So you'll excuse me if I don't really give a fucking shit what any McCain ever tells anybody. I would note that she has been massively ratioed. Again, links in the description, cross-platform. You can follow along, analyze it for yourself. Don't just take me and my word for it. Havercamp Harassment Chronicles, thanks for streaming at a decent time for once, you early bird asshat. Just kidding, Sticks. Much love. Are you worried that the MAGAs are going to flood the streets with cops? They're as big government as the left. If they're sheriffs and they're elected, that's okay. Just replace the metro forces. Primark Vulcan, did you hear about Cornine getting censured by multiple counties here in Texas for violating 7 of the core Republican tenets? Yeah, good. He should be removed from office. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a way they can actually remove him. I think they have to wait till 2026 in order to get rid of Cornine. Hell, by then, I think he's in his 70s. So, yeah, you might as well just let him go out to the last hurrah ranch or something. Put him in the old folks' home. Brock Sampson, 71. The Arizona election regarding Kari Lake reminds me of the fuckery back in the 2020 election. The difference is Kari Lake urged voters to vote in person. Yes, it appears that she forced them to do a preemptive honking, and that means guesstimation. You don't know the real number of people that will turn out. You can honk a little bit on the same day, but you can't make it too obvious. But again, keep in mind this is only a GOP primary, which means it's not fully honked up anyway. It's partially run by the party itself. There are neocons in the party. That's what Kari Lake and others are seeking to change. My feeling is there is a good chance she is declared the victor. She is a couple points ahead. You do have more than 80% in. It just is very suspicious. Vulcan of Nocturne. Don't listen to that guy. I'm the real Vulcan. So yeah, Meghan McCain has gone nuts. Kringenfreud de Sade. Abortion is an infraction against the libertarian principle of non-aggression. Change my mind. That depends on if you consider a fetus in the first trimester to be a sovereign individual. I happen not to due to a lack of brain function. Also, under pragmatic tenets, I do not believe the government should force people in a medical context And the other problem, if it's codified under the Fourth and under HIPAA and things like that, there's no way for you to stop it. It'd be just like the drug war. It's like, well, I think that drugs fry your mind, and this violates the non-aggression principle because little kids might see you shooting heroin. Okay, very well. How are you going to enforce it? It's the real problem. Reform Sauron. Turns out since 2020, Arizona has implemented signature verification for mail-ins. Not good for fortification efforts. Exactly. Partial defortification. In some states, full defortification, which is better. And now we have the Alex Jones trial. I've paid attention to some snippets of it. The only thing that I can think of is that the judge is a cunt, and it is clearly a kangaroo court. Now, Alex Jones is being railroaded. He appears to have ineffective legal counsel, despite changing up his legal counsel. That's, by the way, that's on him. That's not a conspiracy or anything. He did that himself multiple times. If they are giving over the entire stripped contents of a phone to the prosecution, and they're not doing any form of discovery or anything like that, that's ineptitude. I happen to support Alex Jones under one premise. It does not matter that he lied about Sandy Hook or infotained about Sandy Hook. Here's the problem. If you're saying that Alex Jones should be able to be sued by people who are claiming to be directly impacted due to deceased relatives in that case, you open up the floodgates potentially for litigation against anyone who speaks out against any form of story that's told by the government, COVID-related, school shooting, crime, genocide, anything like that. You open up the floodgates for them to potentially be sued by other people based on the fact that you deviated from what is the bottom line story, the fact-checked official version of events. In some cases, that official version of events may be false. That is the problem. With Sandy Hook, of course, there was a school shooting there. Now, I'm not a truther or some bullshit about that. It's fairly clear what happened. But there are other events, tragic events in history that we are later shown did not occur the way that the official storyline went. For instance, the Gulf of Tonkin. Gulf of Tonkin, ship gets torpedoed, gets blown up. What if we allowed the families of the people that were torpedoed or bombed, rather, in the Gulf of Tonkin to sue based on the concept that people that were against the Vietnam War said, well, you know, I think that this was a conspiracy theory. I think this is a false flag. Well, we know that it was true. At the time, and for 5 decades, we didn't know it was true. Are we going to therefore open up the legal floodgates about something like this? I don't think so. Alex Jones should not have to pay a goddamn red cent to people. He's giving his opinion. It is marked as infotainment. It does not involve the people specifically, supposedly being defamed. It involves their next of kin. It involves their parents and relatives and so forth. Why should he be sued for this? Why is there a claimant of defamation? Some of these people are saying, well, it caused us pain and suffering. Okay, that's different from defamation now, isn't it? It's a totally different legal category. What are you talking about? I think this case never should have gone to trial in the first place. Yes, the USS Liberty. If somebody claims something about that it goes against the official bottom line, do the families get to sue? Or is it a matter of time? Like Alex Jones did it in the last few years, so that's okay. But if it was 20, 30 years ago, all of a sudden it's not. What about Gulf War syndrome? Are we going to let all of the family members of the soldiers that were exposed to trace levels of nerve gas, who got chronic pain and PTSD and a million other fucking problems, are we going to allow them to sue when it's inevitably found out that Gulf War syndrome is real? Are we going to allow them to sue if we determine that in the here and now that it's not real? Oh, the government's allowed to sue this person because they're claiming that it's real and that they had pain and their relative died in pain and they're clearly a traitor. They're clearly working for the Russians. I mean, come on. Alex Jones marked himself as an infotainer for years. Everything that he says is likely to be hyperbolic, and he doesn't even have proper legal counsel. Again, that part is on him. I mean, come on, dude. $150 million for infotainment. Yeah, this totally is not an attack on independent journalism. Warrior Poet 808, yo, Stick, shout out from Hilo, Hawaii. Been watching you for 3 years, but finally caught you live. Clank on. We will always be clanking. You can't fit a spoon in the energy drink. Wyatt, while the economy is great under Trump or DeSantis, they both support red flag laws, which should be absolutely inexcusable. Help a guy understand. I oppose red flag laws. Thankfully, we have a judiciary that's reconsidering such laws in the wake of Bruin, thanks to 3 justices put on the SCOTUS by none other than Donald Trump. So I'll give him more of a pass than I will give to DeSantis, who again fired the Tampa Bay area attorney that would not prosecute people as the result of violating the partial abortion ban there in Florida. We will talk about that. Sebastian Monroe, test super chat. Google is getting sus lately. It's been like that for a long time. I have no clue how many people are watching over on Rumble. I know that we're live. Oh, we got 500 people. Sorry, I had to refresh it again. We got 3,200 live at the moment. Good. ES1776. Hey, Sticks, my wife asks that you rotate the plant on the right to hide the barcode sticker. No. Now I'm going to rotate it closer to the camera. Yes, you have to look at the barcode. Now, I'll do you a solid. I'm just kidding with you. Thanks for the catch. But you're not the first person, by the way, I think, to mention that. OCD time. Trust me, I know the feel, so I'll rotate it back. Crossover maniac. Mainstream media lies all the time. They should be in court for defamation if Jones can be sued. Yeah, exactly. What about CNN with WikiLeaks? Oh, you're not allowed to read these releases. Just let us read them. What about all the other? I've been defamed. I got name dropped by the Wall Street Journal, of all places, alongside Alex Jones about 6 years ago. Where's my defamation lawsuit? Where's my lawsuit? Well, you've caused me pain and suffering, quite clearly, mainly because I got algorithmically throttled the next year by YouTube. So you're holding me back, a competitor to the lamestream media. I can even prove damages, can't I? Yolk Nick. Hi, Nick. Always happy to catch a live. Usually I'm under the barbell when you go live. Seems the Dems are diverting the view away from January 6th and the economy by causing international conflict. 25 to fund your energy drink addiction. I've got a whole drawer full of energy drinks, but I thank you very much. I'll bring you some when I get back to the United States. Keep using that barbell. By the way, Yolk Nick, extremely built dude. He thought he was letting himself go. I think I'm not telling anything out of school, by the way, Nick, but I remember that time that you thought you were letting yourself go and you're still stacked. And I thought it was hilarious. Oh, but Jesus. Steady Eddie 1983. I wonder how much harm the government is doing by spreading misinformation about our economic crisis. Court trials, please. Exactly. Why can't we have some lawsuits? Kaz, thoughts on the origins of the Indo-Europeans? Well, somewhere in the northern Indian Caucasus region in general. Sebastian Monroe, Wisconsin is next, hoping for Michaels, but Marquette Law is the only polling firm located in Wisconsin. Low sample size skewed by Dems favoring rhinos. Wisconsin polling is impossible. I'm not even going to make guesses about any of their races in the future, including in presidential ones. Just remember when Ted Cruz pulled it off against Trump at the 11th hour by about 20 points beyond the aggregate. And it wasn't even like fraud or anything like that. It was the result of local talk radio. That one was weird. That was one of, I think, 3 states that I guessed wrong in the entirety of the primaries. Miku Forex bot. Crowder and crew just took the DeSantis pill. For fuck's sake. Yeah. A lot of people doing that lately. They might be let down if he chooses not to run. Lance Johnson. Alex also said he will eat your ass. Will we sue him for not doing that either? Yeah, and Madonna said that she would suck people's dick if they voted for Hillary Clinton. If somebody photographed their ballot, does that mean that she owes them a sexual favor? She'd probably be into it, though, so it's not much of a punishment. Next story, the Democrats' higher tax, bigger IRS, more inflation bill. This is an opinion by Newt Gingrich, so, of course, grain of salt mode is on. I happen to generally concur, though. The biggest thing that's in the Build Back Better reconciliation bill is expanding the IRS. We're talking many tens of billions of dollars to hire over 80,000 new IRS agents, roughly doubling the agency. There are people that believe this is to go after the very, very small number of people that fall into the 1%. So a few million people out of the population. It does not take 80,000 IRS agents to go after that many people. Not even close. 8,000 could easily accomplish this. This is a way of expanding the IRS to attack, in my opinion, political dissidents. People like you, people like me, who have differences of opinion with the reigning government. The biggest problem, though, is not even the expansion of the IRS and the use by the Biden administration to punish people that disagree with it too vehemently. Again, could be me, could be you, could be any other creator or figure online. The biggest problem is that creates a much more expansive bureaucracy that goes into the next administration. These people will cry foul if all of a sudden Donald Trump starts going after random NPR mug liberals, now won't they? But it will happen because it is capable of happening. They have not thought this through. And the liberals, to great applause, are applauding the expansion of the most hated bureaucracy within the United States. Trees are fucking again. Scott Steiner, the world's greatest ring announcer. I saw the Legacy and Missing Link media circling the wagon trying to deflect the fact that all but Liz Cheney yet won't be in the general election. I think there are a couple of, in Washington State, did they call those races? I didn't see any update. Last I saw, Bueller was probably going to proceed into the general. So there might be a couple of impeachers there, but several have been knocked off and 4 of them aren't even running for re-election. I think that's 6 or 7 of them that are already gone, plus Liz Cheney. They didn't have a very good run now, did they? Transylvania 90, what do you think about bureaucracy hurting efficiency to ridiculous levels, such as the military becoming unable to recruit enough due to its own bureaucratic debt, draining funds? Solutions? Solution is to axe the bureaucracy. At the very least, go first-term Reagan or Donald Trump mode with regulations and propose a system by which you freeze spending, you freeze the increase in size as GDP picks up, number one, and you propose what Trump did. And this is another thing that the anti-Trumpers never give him credit for, proposing that for every new regulation, a bunch of other regulations have to be removed. Metalhead Madman. Thoughts on the Alex Jones debacle? According to Salty Cracker, his lawyer gave prosecution his entire phone record. Yeah, it's a gross miscarriage of justice. I am team Alex Jones on this. You don't have to like what he said about Sandy Hook, but the fair and clear truth is this is a kangaroo court. There's no standing for a defamation case of this kind. The people that are lied about supposedly are dead. It's other people claiming damages on their behalf. They're trying to grift off of the people that got killed in the school shooting there. Why are they able to claim damages, especially unrelated to defamation? It doesn't make any sense. Tony D. Girolamo. Hey, Sticks, I do a comedy horror book series called The Pineys about hunters that hunt the kin of the Jersey Devil. It's steeped in South Jersey folklore. You're the best. Thanks for the shill. Sounds very interesting, actually. So look that up. The Pineys. Everyone look that up. Maybe get a copy. Talak, hey, Sticks, when you eventually go on Tim Pool's show, watch for his co-host Ian. He has a listening problem. He goes off on random tangents and stop the conversation. It's unbearable to watch. That's fine by me. Sebastian Monroe. I said getting sus because I had to verify payment info. They're taking their sweet time finding a person, getting a person to override on their end. Fucking BS. Many such cases. JM, you see Alex Stein call Dan Crenshaw Eye Patch McCain. Not the most original joke, but one of the funnier ones politically. Chiqui's Dogemeyer. The AJ trial is a warning to people who would have wrong think, agreed, and go online to speak about things. They're going to try to hang him on a cross for it. Yes, I believe they are trying to make Alex Jones an example for other people not to live by. Be careful. If you have an unpopular opinion on your blog post, you may be sued for it. A Darius Misdancer. To get around the ballot box ban in Wisconsin, a video recently posted shows a guy in a truck driving around with ballots asking people to vote that way. Yeah. Wisconsin and Arizona emerging as the least civilized United States. Twist my cake. You're better than my first cup of coffee. Thank you, Sticksman. Been a long-time listener and sharer. Thank you. Uncultured Barbarian. I live in Wisconsin. It's definitely a purple state. 2 urban areas and 1 county in the north votes blue. The rest vote red. We need electoral policies on the state level as 3 areas screw the rest of the state. Yes, a state-level electoral college has been proposed by none other than Razor Fist. I'm beginning to see that there's some wisdom in that. Mr. Jack, I'm a boring YouTuber, but I also just want to see if I can get a boost for lols. Also, enjoy some energy drink money. Love from Texas. Okay, we have Mr. Jack there. I'll even bing. Now you can see it for yourself. And of course, you have the Clown World avatar. Reformed Sauron. Article 5, Convention of States. Might look into the COS project at some point if you are so inclined. They are now at 19 of the 34 states needed to trigger one. It's gaining steam. Good. Mr. Bird, what's your opinion on the red pill dating strategy for guys? The only people I hear talk about it are single or dating fat chicks. I don't actually know what that refers to. I don't think you want my dating advice. Matt Perkins, is it true you'll be streaming with Sleazy P? Yes, Sleazy P Martini will be the midterm co-host. That is already decided. He has agreed to do so. We will try to get guests. Now, the next news story, opinion. This is how the U.S. will stand with Taiwan. I don't care about what they say in this article as far as how we're going to stand with the Taiwanese people. You mean the legitimate governors of all. China, by the way. China is really just West Taiwan. Here's my problem. The United States has repeatedly refused to recognize Taiwanese sovereignty. So long as we're not recognizing their sovereignty, as we did up until the middle of the 1970s, when the Nixonites decided to try to open up China with trade. See, before that, you couldn't really do that because they were squabbling with Taiwan. You've recognized Taiwan. Then they moved to the one China policy, recognizing China. And China said, oh, okay, well, I guess we can trade. Yeah, we're communists. You're totally not selling out the entirety of the 40s, 50s, and 60s by starting to trade with us and try to draw us into the world at large with fucking Coca-Cola. That's perfectly fine, though. We'll trade with you. Maybe we'll even sell you minerals and shit like that. And the United States benefited from some of the raw resources. In China, their economy took off. All you have to do is put the genie back in the bottle and start recognizing Taiwan as the legitimate government of all of China and say to China, we don't recognize you as a legitimate. There's a precedent. That was what we did for decades anyway. The Nixonites screwed that up around the same time as detente. They tried this with the USSR and it worked, but that's because the USSR didn't manage things properly. It wasn't actually what collapsed the USSR. Well, it wasn't really Star Wars and Reagan or anything like that. The USSR just fucking sucked. Chinese a little bit better at budget balancing. JDA 79, I'd love to see you make an appearance on the Incredible Salt Mine podcast. Princess, maybe defamation is based on Jones calling them crisis actors. Well, possible, but who cares? They're dead. So why are the families suing? Next news story. Poll results. Cheney's re-election chances hurt by roll on January 6th panel. Yes, indeed. The bell tolls for Liz Cheney. I think that's 2 weeks from now. What's the actual voting day? I don't know if it lists it on here. It's in the middle of August. It's in the middle of this month. I think it's about 2 weeks from now. And the thing is that Liz Cheney is on her way out. She will be a lame duck after the primary results. Their Hageman will win. There is no chance for Liz Cheney. God, a 15-point swing right now wouldn't save her. She would still lose by double digits. She's gone. And Miss Piggy will chuff about this. She will stomp her hooves and furrow her brow and poop all over her own legs and do the typical thing that Cheneys tend to do. Maybe kill someone with a bird shot, and she'll call it a day. But she doesn't care, and I'll tell you why. And here's the silver lining for Liz Cheney's dark cloud as far as the primary goes. She'll write a book about it, or she'll campaign for a different office where it's more swing state style. You'll remember she wasn't originally from Wyoming. She went there to have a safe red district anyway. She'll pound her feet and stomp her hand. She'll stomp her feet and pound her hands. She'll get all mad. She'll say that crazies de-elected her. Oh my God, the crazy MAGA crowd here in Wyoming. She will disrespect her own voters, proving their point about kicking her out. But the moderates, so-called, and the Democrats in the country don't see it that way. They see it her way, as a bunch of crazy bumpkins, a bunch of suspenders-wearing rubes decided to kick her out, and they're crazy to do so, and how dare they nominate the MAGA Hageman, and so Liz Cheney will be their hero. And they'll keep her on prime time for the immediate future. And she'll have a book deal, and she'll probably end up with an MSNBC slot. She'll make more money than she was making as a state representative. Tack another zero onto your income, Liz Cheney. The grift is real. You've done very well for yourself. It's the only person that you've ever done well for in your entire career. Mr. Wonderful, joining late from 2:25 a.m. Australia. Bravo to Governor DeSantis for the removal of a Soros stooge. Yes, this has pissed off some leftoids. Will Gooding, Sticks, Hill, are we? Quentin is Sofa King. We told Ed, have a good one. I don't know what you're talking about, but I thank you for the money. I think I need more caffeine before I understand what you said. Rally Vower, RC. What is your prediction on how the Supreme Court will rule in the affirmative action case regarding Harvard's discriminatory admission practices? I hope they strike it down, but I hope they go further. Much like with Bruin, I was hoping that they would explicitly mention that all existing gun control is explicitly hazarded instead of implicitly so. My hope is that they say that Harvard can't do that, and neither can any other college nor employers, et cetera, et cetera. Unfortunately, they'll be more limited, I think, but it's still a good idea. ADSF Satellite, thoughts on 9-year sentence by Russia for Brittany Griner? I literally don't give a shit. She hated the country so much. She went to another country and she found out. She fucked around and she found out. Yeah, the country that you hate so much, nobody cared if you vaped your cannabis. You went to another country and they did care. Fuck you. The Libertarian Party. Only violent extremists like the FBI would falsely classify those committed to peace, self-defense, and individual rights as violent extremists. Yes, just a little bit of a thing here. The FBI did have a leak, and they had one of their infographics there, and it was very cringe. And apparently the Gadsden flag and the Betsy Ross flag and shit like that are now taken as potential symbols of extremism. So naturally, you should get another Gadsden flag. I've got one back in Rutland. I guess I'll have to fly it behind me so they can mark me as a person of interest. And, at least they find me interesting. That's a good thing. Maybe I'll red pill an FBI agent. My CIA handler, all of a sudden they start voting for MAGA candidates. People wonder why. EpicMan004, thoughts on Pelosi in Taiwan? Absolutely overblown. Nobody cares. I don't give a shit what China does. Them testing missiles and running drills was all just a bunch of stuff. And yeah, really, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares about what Nancy Pelosi says or does. Now we have some cope. We have some cope with regards to Kansas shooting down their abortion change to the Constitution. Deception drove Kansans to vote down pro-life value them both amendment. Kansans will soon discover the political dishonesty in play when the abortion industry descends on the state to expand operations. So preemptive prediction, you don't know that will happen, but let's get into this. The people of Kansas, by nearly 60-40 as a ratio, voted down the concept of amending their constitution to allow the outlawing of abortion. It was not close. Yes, the question there was asked in a way that was a little bit confusing, but I noticed that the people that have a problem with it would have rather it been worded something like, do you support the right of little children to stay alive, or something like that? Chuffing about it now, complaining about it, doesn't change anything. The ballot initiative went through. The ballot initiative was defeated. Abortion remains legal in Kansas. It doesn't matter what was on the ballot. The initiative did not carry. Get over it. If you want to front another one in the next election, you're welcome to do so. You can try to get it worded differently. But trying to complain about it now is not going to change anything. And this is exactly what the Republicans I worried would do before the midterms, which is get distracted in the wake of Roe v. Wade. They would get distracted by this particular issue and go completely crazy, as opposed to focusing on a half a dozen issues on which they've already won. And indeed, unfortunately, that prediction is correct. There's a reason why there is finally a real narrowing in the polls of the congressional generic ballot between the Republicans and the Democrats. It's because of this main issue. This is the main issue with regards to that. Believe it or not, there are people in the country that wish that abortion was less common, but do not want it outlawed. Well, in a fucking half a dozen states, you've already gone off and outlawed it. Now, that's the states' rights, as found in the wake of Roe v. Wade being repealed, but that doesn't mean that it's strategically wise. And any reasonable person would have warned them at least to wait, if not to defer, and they chose not to do so. It's because a lot of people in some of these states are beholden to evangelicals. Well, they can't defer. They can't put it off. They have to bring it to the fore, because otherwise they will lose their jobs. And then someone even more evangelical replaces them. CDB from Chris in Santa Monica. What's taking so long in Arizona? Running a secret printing press doesn't take this long. Yeah, I'm wondering. It's like, clearly they can't manage an election. They should probably be stripped of the right to do so. BW, will we ever be rid of the leftoid disease? I just came in. Are they still running the machines in Arizona? Yeah, print to go brrr. And no, you will never be free of leftoidism. It's an eternal camp. You just have to fight it forever. It will never fully go away. We've got chats over on Rumble. I'll try to get to. Heavy One, holy hell, finally caught you live. I have 8 kids, and as you know, you can have 8 kids or money, not both. Take $5 for the diapers. Potato Buggy, thanks for turning the plant. Then we have Lone Wolf 36S. In the words of Will Ferrell, Anchorman blooper, save the children. They are coming in through the back door. Quick, save the children. Zappler 2, thinking of putting your gladiator felon idea in a book series I'm writing. Fits in pretty well with the nation's culture. Yeah, it sounds like a good book now, doesn't it? Like a dystopian future where people are found guilty of any crime and they have to fight each other. Sort of historical, too. I mean, it's basically what they did in Rome and other places. Spencer, Sandman Rittenhouse 2036. That'd be funny. So, yeah, the people that don't want Kansas to have the same states' rights that states that banned abortion have are just continuing to complain about their referendum there that didn't pass. Now's the time to let it go and try again, if you really believe that. Next one, Trump celebrates big night of endorsement victories. Yes, indeed. Multiple big wins for MAGA as far as the primaries the other day. We are still waiting on Lake versus Robson in Arizona. For all I know, we'll have to wait for several weeks. I have no clue what's happening there. They're stuck at 82, 83% in the counting. It's unacceptable. It should not be in any way seen as legitimate for any state to go more than 24 hours and not be able to call a victor unless the margin is within less than a point, and Kari Lake leads by about 2 points, is inexcusable. It's clear that Arizona, which is not a densely populated state mostly, cannot run its own elections. So, but Trump had a good night anyway. Meisner got knocked off. Masters won. Biggs won. Rusty Bowles there, he lost to his challenger. You're basically at least 4 out of 6 of them. 4 out of 7 have been called in favor. I think all 3 of the others are still, results are out. Your mother was a hamster. Have you been to Die Pausenboot, the cat boat in Amsterdam? No, but I have heard of it. Scott Steiner, the world's greatest ring announcer. I'm beginning to notice that even the NIMBY suburban libs are turning on Dems after Massey asked why Department of Education needs these weapons of wars. Yeah, it is very interesting. The DEA needs machine guns, apparently. Ryan Burton, do you think the feds arresting the cops in the Breonna Taylor case today was done to defibrillate their lethargic base for the midterms? Haven't heard that story yet. I'll have to look that up. That sounds good. Transylvania 90. My issue with the gladiator felon idea is that it would turn some hyper-violent people into celebrities who get worshipped, might even encourage crime. Well, if someone wants to do the crime, they have to do the time, and then they have to go in the ring, and there's a 7 out of 8 chance they die. So I fail to see the problem. They'll die faster than they can spawn, that's for sure. Caveman Resell. How soon before the escapees who fled blue states for red states vote blue again? COVID-19 has done nothing but spread liberals across the nation. No, I think that the people who left are the ones that weren't blue to begin with. You got to realize that 35% of people in California are rock-ribbed Republicans. Well, if they leave, they stay Republicans. They're the main ones leaving. Miku for Xbot. I hope the MAGA Republicans elected don't turn in 24. Me too. It's always a possibility. Russell Thander sent 100, I don't know exactly what denomination that is. Taiwanese yen or something? In your opinion, if war with Taiwan breaks out and the USA doesn't come to its aid, do you see any other country coming to its aid like Japan, India, or Australia? I believe there is a defense treaty with Japan at this time. South Korea would be tempted to get involved. Philippines would. Don't listen to them. Australia could. NATO might get directly involved. I think that we need a martial society in Taiwan. Airdrop 1 million guns and billions of rounds of ammo there, and then sell the same shit to the U.S. public. Then encourage all the Europeans to arm up too. Hard enough just to get an air gun in the Netherlands, which is 22 probably comes in handy. There are some rodents in the country. I saw a rat once. It was fairly large, actually, like a sewer rat. John Hendy, I think the biggest failing of the Reagan administration is the introduction of the moral majority satanic panic right. They never really went away. I agree. Colin Madden. They honked in real time, then gaslit half the country into equating smearing poo and taking selfies into a beer hall coup. Defortify. Cheese. Super predators. Bring them to heel. Sigil Stone 17. Ending a stream a couple days ago, you said you were fucking starving. Who is starving and why are you fucking them? Does Liz know about this? I made matar paneer. It was delicious. Please don't send, by the way, any more super chats because I'm going to try to do the thing. Padre speaks over on Rumble. Sticks, I'm the herald of the juice man, Jay Cordick. Juice a half melon with a quart of juiced watermelon, rind and green and all, for the best lemonade. I don't really like watermelon. Got sick once eating it as a kid and never could stomach it since. Now we've got Ron DeSantis. This was a big teaser, actually, earlier. Ron DeSantis spokesperson teases major announcement. Prepare for the liberal media meltdown. I'll be off in a minute or two. And what ended up happening is that the announcement was with regards to a Tampa Bay area prosecutor who would not actually go after people for violating the state abortion laws. And DeSantis said, well, I'm going to melt down the liberal media. I'm going to melt down the leftoids, basically. And some people thought that this would be him announcing a run for president. If I had made a video earlier on it, I would have told you that that was very unlikely. Certainly jumping the gun months before midterms would not be a good idea. There are plenty of people warning Trump not to do it next month. It would be unheralded if he did it in August. I don't even think that DeSantis right now is particularly considering running. What ended up happening is instead he's laying down the law at the state level and saying, look, you're going to have to abide by our laws. You don't have to like them, but you do have to do your job. And so, yeah, there's going to be a bit of a meltdown. But he is grandstanding. This is self-aggrandizement by Ron DeSantis to try to get attention. I think that it has more to do with his recently fully launched gubernatorial bid. Yes, the first ads are out by, I think it was the Friends of Ron DeSantis or something, with regards to gubernatorial run. I think DeSantis is perfectly happy being governor, and he doesn't currently have presidential ambitions. I think that he thinks that if he balances the economy and that's going well, then that plus doing well on COVID and other things gets him a nomination in the future. Beguiling Paper Tiger, $4.99, thank you. And then I am going to go off here. Oh, Star Wars 123 on Rumble. Thoughts on Ram Dass and Be Here Now, given your interest in psychedelics in the past? Ram Dass had an impact on me becoming a Hindu. I don't know who that is, actually. Probably should. But yes, I'm going to go off here. We hit almost 5,000 at peak. Well, 4,500 at least. Good show. I'm keeping a little bit short, so under 45 minutes today. My hope is to keep doing it roughly daily and to go back to roughly an hour, hour 10 or thereabouts. But today I had to start late. I had other stuff to do, and so a little bit tired. It's also the middle of a goddamn heat wave. It's almost 90 degrees, and for the Netherlands, considering the humidity level, that's pretty hot. That's about all. Peace out.